Former President Trump said the Republican Party is, quote, stacked as he discussed the future of the GOP with podcast host Lisa Booth yesterday. He dubbed Ron DeSantis, Josh Hawley, Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and Kristi Noem as the Republican Party's up-and-comers.
Interesting. As GOP hopefuls Mike Pence, Mike Pompeo, Ron DeSantis begin to plan primary events, Politico reports Republicans are running campaigns, assuming Trump doesn't run for re-election in 2024. Democratic strategist, owner of JC Strategies, Jennifer Holsworth-Karp, and Senior Director of Policy at the Conservative Partnership Institute, Rachel Bovard, join us now to discuss. It's good to see you guys. Rachel, let me start with you. Very interesting. Mike Pence's name, his own vice president, is not there on the list. Mike Pompeo's name is not there on the list. And ideologically, that group is all over the map.
Yeah.
What did you make of Trump's speculation there?
Yeah, my first reaction was who wasn't there, which, as you point out, Pence noticeably absent, Marco Rubio, but also the names of his own kids.
Yeah,
you know, everyone's always
sure.
like, is there going to be a Trump in the next cycle? Well, apparently not, according to Donald. So, but look, you know, this group is all over the map, but I think that's kind of what's exciting here, to be honest. Like, I'm kind of sick of listening to these hand-wringing GOP consultants who are like, what is he going to do? Trump owns the party. It's like, look, Trump kicked down the door. The opportunity is now to make the party what we want it to be. Take it and do the thing. And stop worrying about it. And so I'm hopeful that that's the direction we actually go in, because I think as Trump endorses people who are clearly like not in the MAGA vein and are sort of very establishment Republicans, his influence is going to wane. And I think that's what we're kind of seeing right now. He will still be instrumental. He will still be important, but he is not, you know, controlling the party like I think some of the GOP consultants make it out to be.
That's interesting.
I know Rachel and Sagar, you guys are really disappointed to not see Nikki Haley on that list, who I understand is a personal favorite of both of you guys.
Right.
Sorry about that.
Indian solidarity.
Jen, what did you make of this list? What stood out to you?
I just kept conjuring scenes of the Star Wars cantina scene when I was reading through all of the names that Trump was talking about. But it's disappointing, actually. I would like to see some more intellectual heavyweights on the list on the Republican side, people that we can work with who haven't sold their souls to Trump. I obviously disagree with my learned colleague. I do think that Trump still has a complete stranglehold on the GOP, and I don't see it waning anytime soon. And I would love to see them emerge from that. Obviously, I stem from the Pollyanna days of hoping that the parties can eventually work together. I don't think we're there right now. I don't think we're going to be there for a long time. But until we start seeing some honesty out of both sides, by the way, I think you're still going to see an outsized influence of Donald Trump in 2024 and beyond.
Rachel, let me let you respond to that. And I'm just curious what the litmus tests of the future are. The first post-Trump litmus test I've seen right now is around Kristi Noem, who's actually in a lot of hot water with the base over not refusing to sign this bill about girls in sports, etc. The reason I point to that is because it actually has nothing to do with Trump, and I have no idea even where he falls within the subject. So going forward, what the litmus tests will be is not just Trump, but other issues. Can you talk about that battle to define the litmus tests of the future?
The Kristi Noem example is a great one because I think in a time, in a different era, this would barely be a blip on the radar. But I think the Republican Party is so sensitive right now to two things. One, I think really standing up for traditional conservative ways of life, because again, this is about boys playing in girls' sports. So that's really just offensive to a lot of conservatives. But two, I think an element of this was the fact that she bowed to pressure from corporate interests. And I think that is a new element in the Republican Party. And a lot of base conservatives are looking for people to stand up against the Chamber of Commerce, in this case, against the NCAA, and also Amazon was involved in pressuring Kristi Noem. And so I think the fact that she, you know, bowed to pressure from these groups and didn't stand strong in the face of it really axed her from this list in a way that I don't think it would have in other eras. But because this issue is so amplified, she effectively gutted her political career. And I'm honestly not sure she can come back, because the distrust conservatives will have for her now is pretty immense.
It's pretty interesting.
It is interesting because, I mean, honestly, that didn't even come across my radar, that whole thing. I mean,
It's a
just
big
like,
thing right now.
On the right,
Yeah.
I believe you that it's like destroyed her when she was a real up and coming. They loved her at CPAC, all that stuff. She was super anti-lockdown and also had a terrible record as governor in terms of coronavirus in her state. But Jen, I mean, what's your read on whether Trump actually wants to run again or not? We talked about yesterday, he's floating now. He's going to start his own social media platform, which seems like a guaranteed way to make yourself less relevant. by sort of sidelining and putting yourself in this like little niche ecosystem over here. I just don't know that I believe at this point, given how mostly absent he's been from the conversation, that he actually really wants to jump back into the fray. And to me, the fact that he's listing out who he sees as some possible successors kind of moves me more in that direction, that he may be happy to not be president anymore, actually.
I agree. I completely agree. I've been surprised at some of the signals I've seen over the last few weeks. He seems to be more interested in the commentation part of politics than the policy part, where, like it or not, in the lead up to 2016, he was all over every hot topic of the day. And that's not what he has been doing lately. He's been more of a personality commentator on what's been happening rather than commenting on some of the things that the Biden administration is doing. So I agree. I think that he has been sidelining himself in this conversation. And you're right. The biggest indicator was when he said nice things about potential challengers. That's not his MO when he's going to go up against someone, unless he's turned over some fabulous new leaks since leaving office, which I don't believe he has. But look, I think that there's something to be said that, you know, the Trump organization profited wildly off of his time in the presidency. However, when you get down to it, he also lost a lot of money. And I think that that is probably gnawing at him. So he's looking for other ways to make that up, but to be a kingmaker at the same time in the party.
That's actually a good point. I believe you. All right, guys, let's take a quick break and we'll be back with Team Rising right after this.